Welcome to the Center for Learning and Teaching. This is the Grading Quick Start, and today we're going to talk about grading and grading policies. So grading is one of your most important tasks. You don't believe us? Well, you should ask your colleagues and your students. In any hallway, in any of our buildings, you're going to hear both the faculty and the students talk about grades and grading. So why have a grading policy? Well, first off, you have to. It's part of the requirements for teaching in our university. But there are more reasons than just that. Having a consistent grading policy ensures that students understand how they're being assessed. Making sure that students understand how their grades are calculated, what you're actually measuring, and the kind of work that they're expected to do goes a long way to helping them in the course. When students don't understand what the grading policy is and how they're going to be assessed, there tends to be conflict and anxiety. So having a formalized grading policy in writing that students review at the start of the semester is going to lower the chance of conflict and issues between you and the students and between the students themselves. It's going to reduce anxiety for both your students and for you. Grading can cause extreme stress for faculty. Trying to understand how a student's working, what they actually are doing and capable of, can cause a lot of stress to a faculty member, especially when the policy isn't clear. On the student end, not knowing what faculty want from them, not understanding the requirements, causes a great deal of anxiety. And sometimes that anxiety can cause them to freeze. It might seem like it would be kind if you had a flexible or hazy grading policy which would allow you to help an individual student, but the truth of the matter is students prefer a clear, concrete grading policy that gives them structure to their work and helps them to anticipate what you're asking from them and plan how they're going to get their work done throughout the semester. So what should your grading policy cover? Well, your grading policy is going to be part of your syllabi. And on our campus, we do use a standard syllabi. So the first part of your grading policy is probably already in writing for you, and that's the assignments and how they count towards a student's final grade. Every standardized syllabi, every one, at least the base syllabi, should list out the major assignments and how they're going to count towards a grade. There should also be information in the syllabi on how each assignment is laid out, what is expected of students, and how it's going to be graded overall. Things that you're going to want to add, though, to the grading policy are things like late policies, extra credit, makeup exams, and makeup work. So late policies. Are you going to take late assignments? Well, you have to think this one through carefully. There are going to be times students hand in late work, or they're not going to hand it in time and are going to ask to hand it in late. Are you going to take that work? Maybe you should consider taking the work unless being on time is one of your learning objectives. You want to always keep in mind, how does my policy help my students learn? Extra credit is a whole nother topic, and we're going to talk about that later on in the sequence. But if you're going to take extra credit, you're going to want to put that in writing. Is extra credit available or not available? And if so, how and when will they hear about it? Makeup exams and work. Again, students are going to miss tests, quizzes. They may not even hand in work in the time frame that you're expecting. Are you going to take that assignment or that work? Are you going to give a makeup exam? How are you going to go about handling that? How are you going to grade it and get information back to them? Are they going to lose points? Is it for full points? Is it going to be slightly different than what the class itself completed? Right? How are you going to handle these ideas? The late work, extra credit, and makeup exams and work are three things that are very important to students, and they're going to be questioning. Another thing to address in your policy is zeros. A 0 is very different statistically than a 50 or a 60. You want to think about this now. How are you going to grade this type of work before your semester begins? Documenting your policies in your syllabus. Our university expects that each section of every course is going to have a syllabus on file. The syllabus should contain your grading scale and the breakdown of how grades are calculated. In addition, the syllabus should contain information on extra credit makeup and late work, as we just discussed. To see the examples of policies and how they've been written about in a standard syllabus, please check with your department chairperson. We store syllabi going back many, many years, and every department and faculty community should have a warehouse that you can look through. So, we do have to have a grading policy. It is a requirement from the university, but it makes sense to set it up for your own purposes as well. It's your classroom and your students, and you want to give them the best experience with the least amount of conflict and anxiety possible. So things to consider as you get started on your grading policy. How are you going to make sure that your policy supports learning versus only supporting earning points? What does your grading policy tell students that you value? Whatever you put on the syllabus are the things that the students are going to pay attention to. Those are the things that they are going to expect that you value. And finally, what does your grading policy push students to pay attention to and focus on? When we put it on the syllabus, when we tell students that there's a due date and an expectation of quality and a format and work to be done, it tells our students what they should pay attention to and focus on. For instance, if you spend a large amount of time worrying about formatting, maybe that's part of your course, but it's telling your students something of value. Pay attention to the type font you use and whether it's bold, italicized, whether it's centered. Is that actually what you want them to pay attention to? If not, it's a good time to reassess how you're going to grade. Focus the points, focus what they earn, focus the grades on the things you want students to pay attention to, the things you want them to put their focus on, and the things that you value.